Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me remotely is Phil Mackintosh, our chief economist at Nasdaq, to review how policymakers and investors are starting to model out the global economic impact of the coronavirus as the race is on to mitigate the spread of the virus and provide stability to the markets, consumers, and the economy. Now, Phil, stocks opening up sharply lower this morning, and really it's quite sobering what the president has been saying in terms of the expectations of potential for deaths. It's going to be a very, very hard couple of weeks. According to the president, it seems as if the markets aren't looking quite that far ahead yet to a recovery.
Yeah, I would say on balance, there wasn't much good news overnight. Obviously, the markets have known that there's a lot of bad news out there. So the speech that the president made last night wasn't specifically new news, but the fact that he's come around to the fact that this is a bigger problem to solve than we thought 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think it's just given everybody a bit of a reality check. But also the data on new cases in the US just keeps going up. So the hopes that we've been talking about where we started to see that slow down doesn't seem to be panning out right now. So all of the stay at home, work from home process isn't working yet. And I know Italy had a lot of trouble getting some success in theirs as well. They were doing it for weeks until they really started to get the new cases under control. But they do seem to have seen some positive results from it after a week or so. So that's kind of, we're a bit behind them. And at the moment, the data is still coming through with increases in new cases.
Yeah, and we can see that in our first chart here, courtesy of Johns Hopkins. I mean, U.S. cases are increasing at 26,000 per day.
Yeah, in the US and even more globally, obviously. I suspect looking at the rate of growth, we'll probably have over 1 million cases sometime tomorrow, maybe the day after, which will be a big number when we pass it, and it'll probably get some press. It also shows just how badly the Western economies have dealt with this compared to how China and Korea dealt with it. China's got 1 billion plus people, and they had less than 100,000 cases. The rest of the world has surpassed them completely already.
Yeah, and that's what I want to take a look at here on our second chart with corona testing rates. They're varying considerably, and that's a problem. It'll make it hard to model out how we've hopefully mitigated this disease at some point and what it looks like globally. To me, that's a concerning chart.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't know that the US has been slow to test, but the important thing about testing is just knowing who needs to stay at home. It's probably got to the point now where there's quite a lot of people that have had coronavirus mildly, have recovered from it, and have, so the scientists think, got immunity. So those people could actually start to get back to work. They could move around comfortably, but we don't know because we didn't test them when we thought they might have been positive, and there's still no tests available to prove that people have got the immunity. So until we get those two kinds of tests going, in the US especially, it's a little hard for people to comfortably walk around outside and know whether they're safe or not.
Yeah, and we always like to end this on a positive note, and I want to take a look at our third and final chart here. And this is really interesting, this index. I've actually never heard of this before, but it's constructed by Ravenpack, and it analyzes the press to detect panic news coverage of COVID-19 and other sentiment measures. Tell us more about that and what you're seeing with the chart.
Yeah, I found it recently myself, and it was super interesting. It's obviously sort of scraping websites and looking at news sites to work out what's going on. And interestingly, you can see from the chart that the panic index has started to come down a little bit with spikes along the way, but it's sort of peaked that first time and generally is trending down. That tends to sync up with the media coverage of the coronavirus as well. So as the media talks about other things, people's panic levels seem to subside. And not surprisingly, the other line that we put on this chart today is the global sentiment index. And so as the media stops talking about this constantly, people get a little bit more confident. And I just think, that kind of adds the human element to what's going on. When it is the only thing we talk about, it tends to be something that we maybe obsess over. A lot of people are talking about, this will be over. Even the 1918 flu, although there was 2 waves, it eventually was over and people got back to work. And the recovery was actually pretty quick once people got back to work. So the positive here is, if people stop obsessing, maybe we can start to focus on real solutions, how to get people that are healthy back to work and get things back to normal a little bit faster, even if it's incremental steps.
Yeah, that certainly would be encouraging. Phil, thank you as always for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.